rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events, this is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. I am your host, Rick. Well, it looks like we've got some jokesters and stuff like that coming. Bonnie, really? Oh my gosh, talk about a groaner. Anyway, oh my goodness. All right, so here we are, gathered here again, and apparently Biden gave his final state of the economy address. Well, let's just say that it was quite interesting. I'll put that, because of course he's so far out of it he doesn't even know what the heck is going on. I've got that. I've got a couple other things. Plus, Trump was actually named Man of the Year, or Person of the Year, whatever. And so, yeah, I've got what that looked like too. First up here on the program, but before we get to go into anything else, we have Pops McGroin up on deck for performing the Pledge of Allegiance for us. So if you wouldn't mind, please stand, remove your hat if you're wearing one like me, and place your hand over your heart, and follow along with Pops McGroin, and I believe it's his wife, but Pops McGroin and other in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
God bless America.
And I thank you for submitting that, Pops and partner. If you would like to hear your version of the Pledge of Allegiance played here on the program, all you need to do is record yourself reciting the pledge in your style, and take that audio or video file, whatever kind of file, and take that and ship it off to me by sending it via email to fans, F-A-N-S, at americanperspective.online. That's fans, F-A-N-S, at americanperspective.online. All right, tonight's headline promotion is the Institute on the Constitution. The Institute on the Constitution was established in 2004 as a 501c3 nonprofit with one singular mission, and that is to restore the constitutional republic through grassroots education. All courses and materials are developed using primary source documents and taught from the American view of law and government as defined in the Declaration of Independence in the following three key points. 1, there is a God. 2, our rights come from him. And 3, the purpose of civil government is to secure and protect our God-given rights. The IOTC offers the opportunity to educate yourself on our most precious founding document, the Constitution of the United States. They also provide tools to educate your community and get involved with local government. Start by taking their free U.S. Constitution course and go from there. Use my affiliate link, IOTC.americanperspective.online, to sign up, and while you are there, take a moment to look through their other course material and information. My affiliate link, once again, is IOTC.americanperspective.online to get great content to learn about our historical founding and support the show in the process. That's IOTC.americanperspective.online. Or, if you just want to purchase this fabulous Saddleback leather-bound U.S. Constitution to support the show, go to constitution.americanperspective.online. Great stocking stuffer, hint, hint. And time is running short. You might want to order soon if you're going to get one. as soon as possible to take a look at this thing. It's got 1/8 of an inch of Saddleback leather. Inside, it has water and tear-resistant pages. Look at that binding. No cheap glue here, folks. It's stitched all the way through the leather and the pages within. It has a 100-year warranty against materials and workmanship defects, such that if anything goes wrong, you can send it back to the manufacturer, and they will either fix it or replace it for free. This is, according to 3 Chevy, the non-buttocks poking rounded corners thing that is a pain in the ass to Democrats. Oh, I love 3 Chevy. He's great with coming up with stuff like that. But it is buddy tested, buddy approved, Billy tasted, Billy approved. And my youngest whiskey warrior has confirmed that the information contained herein will help you to attain your civics badge in Scouts. Go to constitution.americanperspective.online and get yours today. Get those copies for those friends of yours and stick it into the stocking. Stuff that stocking. Doesn't matter whether it's a leftist or a conservative. Either way, they will enjoy it, I'm telling you. Go to constitution.americanperspective.online and get yours today. 3 Chevy says it's a gift. Anyway. All right. So, first things first. Yesterday, I started off by telling you that Time magazine was expected to name Trump their person of the year. Well, that went ahead and happened. And this morning, Trump was at the New York Stock Exchange to ring the bell. Now, this isn't something that is like that normally happens, I don't think. Time magazine's reveal of their cover, you know, I don't think it really ties into the whole New York Stock Exchange bell ringing type thing, because DC Drano on X posted that Trump is the first president to ring the New York Stock Exchange bell since Reagan did in 1985. So let's go ahead and head on over to this video, this short clip, and let's take a look at what happened here. It's a 30-second clip.
World, he's going to ring the bell here in about 20 seconds. An historic moment at the New York Stock Exchange as we get this opening bell rung by the president-elect, Donald Trump.
He did it quite well. But anyway, yeah. So apparently, Kamala Harris, by the way, has been revealed as being one of the people on the list for the being the Time magazine. I bet it just chaps her hide that he did it twice. He beat her before, and he's beating her now. So there you go. Anyway, so that was a historic moment. And speaking of history, Joe Biden, on his way out, I told you, folks, he's on his way out. On his way out, he is trying to break more records. And that is not a good thing. Breaking records in his capacity is not a good thing at all. Well, apparently, he's decided, I guess he was inspired because he pardoned his son, Hunter. He's decided that he is going to go for the gusto and have the largest day of clemency in history here in the Populous Times. Biden goes ahead and commutes sentences of 1,500. That's right. 1,500 people, and goes ahead and pardons 39 others. Now, yeah, so he's pardoned 39 individuals who were involved in nonviolent offenses and commuted the sentences of about 1,500 others. The event marks the largest day of clemency in the history of the United States. So in other words, what Joe Biden's trying to do is because all of his other legacy things are being destroyed, he is trying to get his name into the history books somehow. I mean, that's the only way that I can kind of figure this out. Actually, let me rephrase that. It's not Joe Biden doing this. This is Jill Biden who is doing this. Jill Biden, of course, wants to make, Joe Biden the #1 best ever president of the United States. And he's not. He's actually going to dive down into the worst. But anyway, not too many people were too happy about that. In comparison, just to give you an idea, a President Donald Trump pardoned only 143 people and commuted the sentences of another 94 individuals during his first term in office. The White House stated the president has issued more sentence commutations at this point in his presidency than any of his recent predecessors at the same point in their first terms. Yeah. So the commutation recipients have been serving at least 1 year under house arrest since the pandemic struck, and thousands of prisoners were released on the justification that it was to decongest prisons. The president says that commutation recipients have fully rehabilitated and reintegrated into their families and communities and have shown a commitment to make their communities stronger and safer. There's no idea whether or not how he figures that out. I have no idea. Anyway, so Biden also apparently believes that the prisoners' sentences were too long and issued under outdated laws. It's too bad that he couldn't do this for the January 6ers that he's put into prison for doing nothing more than just trespassing. Anyway, he added apparently that the recipients have shown that they deserve a second chance. Oh, really? Yeah. So, okay. He's apparently there was a statement the president is intent on granting clemency to individuals convicted of nonviolent crimes who were sentenced under outdated laws, policies, and practices that left them with longer sentences than if the individuals were sentenced today. Again, Joe, you got a whole freaking, series of people who have been locked up without trials for being sentenced for things like, trespassing, which has been way too long of a deal in terms of the long overdue punishments and so on and so forth, that you could have easily just gone and added those. But anyway, Biden also has hinted, by the way, that there's more pardons on the way. They're most likely going to benefit his political allies who fear political retribution from incoming President Donald Trump. We've already talked about some of these. We've got, former Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney, Dr. Anthony Fauci, and, of course, Adam Shifty Schiff. Bill Clinton also made a comment. He made a comment on a what do you call it? One of those talk shows or whatever. They were discussing all the pardons and stuff. And Bill Clinton brought up the whole Clinton email scandal, the Hillary Clinton email scandal, which it wasn't a scandal. It was actually fact and true. But he said it was lie and made up, and that there were and he put up the big old zero. He put up a big old zero saying that there was zero evidence of classified emails being sent through Clinton's private server. Well, there's only one problem with that. I seem to recall BleachBit being utilized, hammers on some BlackBerry devices, and things of that nature. Yeah, right. I also seem to recall that even though the FBI decided not to pursue the case back then, they did say that there was evidence that Clinton likely broke the law, but that they weren't going to prosecute it because no prosecutor, meaning no assistant DA, attorney general, or whatever, would touch them. So anyway, yeah, he was claiming all of that, but he also pointed out that if Joe Biden wanted to pardon his wife, that he would go ahead and be open to a conversation about it. Yeah. Okay. In other words, what's going to happen here probably before the end of when Joe gets out of office, all these people that Trump has named to go after, Joe is just going to give them some sort of a blanket pardon. It probably was part of any kind of deal or whatever that he may have struck. I don't know, but this is just, it's just an abuse of power for sure. That's just the way Joe rolls. Joe doesn't care. He doesn't care about, traditions. He doesn't care about things that are happening that are outside of the norm. He doesn't care because that's the way Joe rolls. He doesn't care. Well, Joe stood up in front of everybody and gave his economic farewell speech. And he, I love this line in the Washington Examiner. President Joe Biden emerged from his long winter's nap to give a speech defending his economic legacy. And then, of course, the next day, which I already pointed that out, but the next day, inflation was up for the second month in a row. You'll remember I talked about that earlier. Well, those two phenomenons, of course, were not directly related, but Biden's Bidenomics swan song and the persistence of inflation together serve as an effective illustration of the problems that have plagued his administration for most of his term. Yeah, well, part of the problem with his inflation and his economic scenario is the fact that he created the worst inflation in over 40 years, topping it off at 9.1%, 18 months after he took office. Following, by the way, on the vote that was the tie-breaking vote by his VP, Kamala Harris, for the not correctly named Inflation Reduction Act, which was actually a Green New Deal mislabeled for it. So anyway, so Biden gave a lot of happy talk about the economy. And it also means that his, that's one of the biggest reasons, obviously, for his job approval rating to be standing at just under 40%. According to the Real Clear Politics polling average right now, Biden's economic disapproval rating was at 60% or worse in 3 of the last 5 polls that Real Clear Politics included, with a 4th showing 59% disapproving of his handling of the economy. Now, on election day, 68% of voters rated the economy as not so good or poor, to just 5% who thought that it was excellent. Okay, so I've got a question. If these polling averages are true and they've come out according to the exit polls, where are these people who are all over the socials, and what the hell is going on with them, that they are all talking about how the economy is just fantastic and that Kamala Harris, completely ignored it? I want to know. I really and truly want to know, not that I care for them to be able to correct their mistakes for 2024, but the Democrats totally missed the boat when it came to the economy. they didn't listen to the people. They didn't listen to the voters in the polling and everything else, because everybody was saying the economy sucks. And Kamala Harris just basically brushed that under the rug. She didn't care. Well, anyway. So, a little bit further on here, Trump won 81% of voters who said that the economy was their top issue. 53% of all voters said that they trust Trump more on the economy. And Trump also received 70% of the vote among the first group, which were the 68% of voters rating the economy as not so good. So he took 88% among the 1/3 of voters who thought the economic conditions were poor. Well, that's true. So anyway. So further on down, in his Brookings Institution economic speech on Tuesday, Biden returned to the themes that hadn't moved the needle much in the last 3 years. And sometimes he apparently had a halting delivery. So here's some of the things that he said. Starts off, after decades of trickle-down economics that primarily benefited those at the very top, we've written a new book that's growing the economy, the middle out and the bottom up. That benefits thus far everyone, and that's going to be the test with going forward. Okay, now, keep in mind, first of all, there is no such thing of trickle-down economics. Never has been. Thomas Sowell has dared somebody to come and get and pay him, or he would pay them $1,000 if they can find the one person who started the idea that it's trickle-down economics. And it's just, trickle-down economics doesn't exist. It never did. It's a Democrat talking point. It has nothing to do with any serious economist, has nothing to do with any, I mean, there is nothing in any economics class that talks about trickle-down economics. So, anyway, he also credited the bringing back of the pre-pandemic prosperity, which he still claims 16 million jobs created. Yeah, that's a total lie, because 10 to 11 returned after the first ever economic shutdown in history. But many, now they claim Republicans, I'm saying many Americans who are smart, blame inflation spiking to a 41-year high on the legislation that Biden keeps talking about, which is the American Rescue Plan. Yeah. He continued in his speech. He said, we acted quickly to get inflation down with the help of Republicans and Democrats. Inflation came down to pre-pandemic levels. No, it hasn't. Pre-pandemic levels on average was Trump's first term, and that was under 2%. So, I don't know. Anyway, anyway, and then Biden talks about wages have increased. Yeah, not when adjusted for inflation. They haven't. We're actually still in the negative. He continued and says, but still too many working and middle-class families struggle with high prices for housing and groceries and the daily needs of life. Yeah. Yeah. So his economic team, and I got something about that here in just a minute. His economic team, of course, over the past 4 years initially insisted that inflation was transitory and that when unemployment goes down, people go back to work. When inflation goes down, prices don't return to their levels, or didn't return to their levels just a few years ago. Moreover, voters remembered low unemployment and a growing economy with little inflation under Trump. So this whole thing, of course, set up this really odd tensions during the Brookings speech, where he mentions the good things that he is bequeathing to his successor and the economic follies of his predecessor, who happened to be the same person. Yeah. Anyway, he mentioned Trump by name only twice. Once to say that he should have copied the once and future president by putting his own name on the stimulus checks. And then again in a quote from Time magazine about the good economy that Trump will inherit, which is a bunch of crap. Yeah. Anyway, Biden finally concluded his speech by daring Trump to undo his economic policies, saying that he had set up benchmarks, if you will, that we should measure the success or failure of our next 4 years. Yeah. Okay. Sure. Well, nobody, of course, obviously felt that that was really the case. So, yeah, I just can't wait till this guy is gone. I really can't. Well, in less than 30 days, he will be. Is it 30 days? I can't remember. Anyway, so part of his wonderful team that he was talking about in that speech included Biden's Secretary of the Treasury, Janet Yellen. Now, Janet Yellen apparently, here, according to the National Post, she kind of slipped up in terms of her economic policy. She admits failure, which is amazing. Really. 39 days. Thank you. Thank you, Coco. Coco de Whiskey. One of my wonderful, like I tell you, man, I'm at my P1s, man. I'm telling you, Whiskey Warrior P1s, the WWP1s. Keep me on my toes. Anyway, this in the National Pulse. U.S. Secretary of Treasury Janet Yellen admits Joe Biden and his government failed to rein in the federal deficit, which has ballooned to $1.92 trillion in 2024. And she says that they failed to address concerns regarding fiscal sustainability. Yellen, who will leave office in January, made the remarks yesterday at the Wall Street Journal's annual CEO Council Summit. She says, well, I am concerned about fiscal sustainability, and I am sorry that we haven't made more progress, Yellen said, adding, I believe that the deficit needs to be brought down, especially now that we're in an environment of higher interest rates. Yeah, folks, she was part of it. Because as I mentioned in the other article, she was the one that said that inflation is transitory. So her admission apparently was prompted by a question posed by Greg Ip, who was the Journal's chief economic commentator. Ip pressed Yellen on the significant budget deficit left by the Biden government and asked if she had any regrets regarding the Democrat leader's fiscal decisions. So over the course of the 4-year tenure, Yellen has drawn controversy on more than one occasion. Earlier on, she was a former Federal Reserve chief, by the way. Early on in Biden's term, she insisted that rampant inflation being experienced by Americans were merely transitory, like I said. She implied that it would quickly recede without intervention. However, that wasn't the case. And this left Yellen acknowledging an inconvenient truth for the Biden government this last February. High prices were likely to be persistent for the foreseeable future. Yeah. So, yeah. This entire administration and everybody in it just needs to go. They need to go. Anyway. So, yeah, it just needs to go bye-bye. That's what they do. Well, one of the things that is causing the leftists a lot of concern, and by concern, I mean gnashing of teeth and crying and howling and all those other things, is the whole concept of DOGE. That's the Department of Government Efficiency. And there's been a lot of speculation, as well as, oh, good one, Becky. Becky over on Facebook says they couldn't rein in a rocking horse. I like that. Anyway, so the thing about it is that we have and I'm sorry, let me get my thoughts back together with regarding Doge. The left is getting a little upset and, shall we say, a little gnashing of teeth and all this other stuff because of the fact that they are worried about all of the cuts that Doge is recommending. Now, realistically, all they're doing is they're going off of social media posts, which as of right now, because Doge hasn't actually really started its work yet. But the fact is that the Doge scenario is going through and they're going to cut back on certain efficiencies and all of these things. So the thing about it is that a lot of the left is freaked out about all the cuts that that are starting to be recommended or starting to come out as being possibilities of being on the chopping block. And the challenge there, of course, is that America has never really had a governmental efficiency committee such as Doge. And so they're presenting a lot of potentially false information. And they're saying that there's a lot of things that are going to get slashed that are going to cause us all kinds of harm. Well, I'm basically saying that I'm not so sure. And the reason why I'm not so sure about it, well, first of all, as you all know, I am a strict constitutionalist. The Constitution defines what needs to, essentially what the federal government is responsible for. And a lot of the things that Doge and its members, meaning Yellen as well as Vivek Ramaswamy, a lot of what they're talking about is literally things that are not covered in the Constitution. Well, because of the fact that it's not covered in the Constitution, and because of the fact that we don't really have any historical preference, we have to go and take a look at somewhere else that might be doing something in a very similar fashion. Well, most people remember, okay, the fact that we have another fiscal conservative and government cutting and slashing individual who just got elected to our South in the form of Javier Milei in Argentina. And I got to tell you, the things that have been coming out with regards to this gentleman and what he is doing, it bodes well for some of the things that Trump is proposing and Elon as well as Vivek. Take a look here in the National Pulse. Doge-style efficiency cuts deliver Argentina's first budget surplus in 123 years. Now keep in mind, this is just one single year. President Milei he's only been in office for a year, and he has single-handedly transformed Argentina's economic landscape, slashing the national budget deficit to zero for the first time in 123 years. It's a historic milestone in his presidency, which began on December 10th in 2023. So here we are, December 12th, 1 year later in 2024, and he's doing what by all reports is a fantastic job. Now, he took over the economy when it was crippled by inflation. And I mean, we're talking triple-digit inflation here, people. This isn't like what we have here. This was like well over. They had supermarkets apparently had to adjust their prices daily and so on and so forth. He made a bunch of aggressive cutbacks to the size of government, often symbolized by his very colorful campaign ads where he was holding a chainsaw. But he has now steered the country back toward what people are calling fiscal stability. So Argentina's inflation plummeted from a staggering 200% in 2023 to now equal to ours at 2.3%. And that was in October. Okay. This dramatic reduction was celebrated by Milei in a recent broadcast in which he stated, quote, "The deficit was the root of all our evils. Without it, there's no debt, no emission, no inflation. Today, we have sustained fiscal surplus, free of default for the first time in 123 years. Milei goes ahead and describes his actions as the greatest adjustment in history. He contrasts his approach with past socialist policy, which is where the leftists were trying to take us, by the way. He claims a year ago a degenerate printed 13% of GDP to win an election, fueling inflation. Today, monetary emission is a thing of the past." So, yeah, he's within weeks of taking office, he sold the 2 private jets owned by a state-owned oil company as part of a drive to end political privileges for state officials. He also reduced the number of government vehicles and chauffeurs by half, delivered more systemic reforms. For instance, the number of government departments has been cut from 18 down to 8. Now think about that for just a second, okay? He took it from 18 departments down to 8. If you look at our bureaucracy, we have something like 500 plus government bureaucracies. And if you go off of the information by Paul Engel when he was writing his book, The Constitution Study, only 49 of those are actually constitutional in nature. Think about that for a minute. From 500 down to 50. That'd be 10%. That would be a 90% cut in all of the bureaucracy. Could you just imagine what, I mean, anyway, so he cut those numbers down from 18 to 8 and took out some 30,000 bureaucrats. Just think of how many millions of people we have working for the federal government today. In fact, back in October, there was only 12,000 jobs that were created, and all of them were government jobs that were added. Anyway, his achievement in eliminating a century-long deficit within a year has also not gone unnoticed. Tech mogul Elon Musk took to X to commend Milei, recognizing his bold economic reforms and their tangible results. Musk and the former Republican presidential primary candidate Vivek Ramaswamy are, of course, going to head the Department of Government Efficiency to try and achieve similar savings across our federal government. And I am definitely applauding their actions. It's a necessary thing, folks. like I've been telling people on X, there's a lot of stuff that people think are part of the federal government's responsibilities, but they're not. They're not even close. You can't even assign them or even tangentially connect them to one of the 18 items in Article 1, Section 8 that the Congress is supposed to be putting out legislation on. Anyway. So another thing that has gone on too is the attack on Pete Hegseth is for the attack on Pete Hegseth is also continuing. But Pete honestly has let's just say he did a quick little checkmate on this thing, which a lot of people are not even going to notice, other than the fact that us right-wing oriented or conservative oriented talk shows kind of go, hey, he did a good job here. So here in LifeZet, Pete Hegseth outsmarts their media with a preemptive fact check before a hit piece actually gets published. So here, Pete Hegseth he is addressing allegations about his military academy acceptance as further scrutiny over his past intensifies. Apparently, ProPublica was preparing to release a knowingly false report challenging his acceptance to West Point, because it was going to say that he claims to, but has not actually been accepted into West Point back in 1999. Well, Pete, in the preemptive strike and preemptive move, actually posted on Twitter, X, formerly Twitter. He posted an image of his acceptance letter that was signed by the West Point superintendent at the time, Lieutenant General Daniel Christman. So Hegseth wrote, "We understand that ProPublica, which is a left-wing hack group," yeah, I agree, basically said that they were planning to publish a knowingly false report that I was not accepted to West Point in 1999. Here's my letter of acceptance signed by the, the West Point superintendent of the U.S. Army. The letter itself praised Hegseth for his exceptional potential for future service to your country and fellow citizens, and highlighted West Point's programs as an opportunity to develop that potential fully. Okay? So here's the post. You can see it, and you can also head off to X, but there's the letter and a offer of admission certificate that basically shows up in class of 2003. So, yeah. Pete's smacking back, folks, which is good. That's what he should do. We shouldn't just, bend over backwards and take it from these people. We need to hit them back. We need to hit them where they live and stop with the lies. Anyway. So moving into the arts and entertainment section of the show, apparently Whoopi Goldberg and Ana Navarro on The View got into an argument over whether or not to panic about Trump. Ironically, apparently Whoopi didn't really think that they should be panicking, and Ana Navarro took the other tack. Well, let's go ahead and take a quick listen into what was actually said here.
I disagree with you when you say that because we have the luxury of saying that because we're legal, we are successful, we are. But if you're an illegal immigrant in this country, you're not going to be not in a panic. If you are a woman working for the Department of Defense, you have a right to be in a panic.
You tell people to stay fraught and like this.
I'm telling people to prepare, Whoopi. I'm telling people to prepare.
They are prepared.
So that means that they can't be relaxing and enjoying Christmas.
No, it doesn't mean that.
When winter is coming.
No, it does. You know what? I'm sorry.
I mean, I disagree.
Winter is here.
Right.
Winter's been with us. And my point is we can lay down and do nothing for the next 15 days and then be freaking out for the next 4 or 2 years.
To you is we are in a privileged position that a lot of people who are going to be under his attack
who is going through the same thing.
I want his enemies listening. I'm not panicking. Yeah. Like, we just have to live.
We have to figure out what we're panicking for.
America.
We don't know what we're panicking for. They're throwing 50,000 things at you to make you do this. I'm saying don't buy into that.
Well, yeah, it's kind of fun to watch them sort of like attack each other because that's the whole concept of the left and the leftist getting into eating their own, let's say. But the fiery exchange itself underscored the contrasting perspectives even among all of the anti-Trump voices that are on the show, The View, which, by the way, is bleeding viewers. Apparently viewers are leaving quite a bit. Well, that's okay. According to one Trump-supporting comedian, he believes that this is a prime time to present with the world here in the very near future an alternative to The View. And my guess is he'll probably get more viewers to his show. As everybody knows, Rob Schneider is not exactly what I would consider a liberal-loving individual, okay? Rob Schneider has been attacked on X a few times I've seen for his stances, his pro-conservative, pro-Trump stance, sort of like, in a way, a little bit like James Woods and some other actors that have taken conservative stances within Hollywood. Okay. But he actually announced here not too long ago that he is going to be launching a new conservative talk show that's aimed at providing an alternative to ABC's The View. So he was in an interview with Fox News where he revealed his plans for this particular entertainment show. Let's take a listen.
Okay, the big announcement. What's happening?
Well, No Apologies Media, my new company, we're going to do a all-ladies talk show that won't be like The View.
Is it the opposite of The View?
It could be, but we're just going to do a show that it'll be the opposite because this will be entertaining.
Okay.
It'll be funny.
Yeah.
We'll have funny women on it. They're going to tell jokes and have funny stories and health and wellness.
Is the idea to go after The View at the same time slot? Are you going, it's a competitor?
We're going to compete with them, yeah. I don't know if it's the same time slot. We're not going to announce who's doing the show yet, but that's what's happening now, and it's official. So now we're moving ahead.
Give us a timeline.
January, we're going to start shooting shows before the inauguration.
Are you talking to people? Are you talking to famous people, women that you like?
Yes, we have a lot of women we like, and it's household names. And you're going to love it. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a funny show. Not going to be like drowning people in politics. It's not going to be shaming people and making people wince.
Okay.
You know?
So there you go. Now I got to play this back. I got to play this back because he announced the name of his media company.
Okay, the big announcement. What's happening?
Well, No Apologies Media, my new.
So that's his media company. No Apologies Media. Wow. So there you go. We are probably going to end up having a competitor to ABC's The View with their clucking folks. But he has already announced it's official. It's coming. It's going to be coming in January, he said. So, yeah, we're just going to... It's an all-new ladies talk show for The View. This is perfect. He's going to be a competitor. And, of course, The View itself is facing declining viewership and mounting criticism for its frequently anti-Trump rhetoric. So, it's too bad I didn't think of it with my media company. Anyway, so Rob Schneider, I got to tell you, this is great. Alternative media is where it's going to be at, folks. That's where it's going to be. All right. And, we're going to take this the alternate, the parallel economy, I'm telling you, is the biggest place. It's something that we definitely need in terms of all of these things. It's definitely something that we absolutely and positively need in our lives. And, he may actually, if it ends up being on, mainstream outlets, he might actually help revitalize, kind of like Rush did. I'm getting ahead of myself here, but kind of like Rush did for the AM radio broadcast when they switched from playing just music over to talk radio, which is what Rush Limbaugh is known for doing, is revitalizing AM radio and talk radio in particular and turning it into a media giant. Maybe Rob Schneider might be doing that for this. So anyway. Anyway, so yeah, this is going to be great. Speaking of the media, Trump has found a spot for Kari Lake. Yes, Kari Lake, who used to be a broadcaster down in Arizona. She ran for Senate. She ran for governor. Unfortunately failed in both. But now President Trump has said that he has selected Kari Lake to run this thing called the Voice of America. Now, I got to be honest with you. I never even knew what the Voice of America was. I had to go and look it up because I was thinking it was something sort of like National Public Radio or something along those lines. Well, it turns out that the Voice of America is essentially the largest U.S. international broadcaster according to their mission. Okay. They provide news and information in nearly 50 languages to an estimated weekly audience of over 354 million people. VOA produces content for digital, television, and radio platforms, and they send it. It's distributed by satellite, cable, FM, microwave, carried on networks of more than 3,500 affiliate stations. Okay. So it was first created in 1942. The Voice of America has been committed to providing comprehensive coverage of the news and tell audiences the truth. Throughout World War II, the Cold War, the fight against global terrorism, and the struggle for freedom around the globe today, VOA exemplifies the principles of a free press. So it's part of the U.S. Agency for Global Media, which is the government agency that oversees all non-military U.S. international broadcasting. It's also funded by U.S. Congress. Now, this, I mean, wow. So Trump has tapped Kari Lake, former broadcaster, Arizona. She's a staunch loyalist. And she is going to head the congressionally funded broadcasting, corporation that provides news reporting around the world. So, this is Yeah, Mark is like, I thought it was a new made up thing. No, it's been around for quite some time. And apparently, I always thought NPR was our government radio. That was it. But, yeah. Anyway, so there we go. Learn something new every day, I guess. So, now keep in mind, Trump has been a past critic of Voice of America, saying back in 2020 that the things they say are disgusting toward our country. So he's looking to actually, looking to clean that up too. So anyway, so there you go. There you go. So that's pretty cool. Starting in January of 2021, that's what's going to happen. And of course, just to kind of round this out, you guys know about Mark Elias. Mark Elias is like this lawyer that has been the thorn in many people's sides. So anyway, Mark Elias is now scared. He's actually scared because he believes that Trump and Cash are going to come after him. So he is the Democrat Party's dark money lawfare guru, according to this piece in the National Pulse. He fears being targeted. There's a lot of people that are fearing being targeted by Donald Trump, I guess. In a recent column, Elias, who most recently pushed election denial claims by both Vice President Kamala Harris's 2024 presidential campaign and now also defeated Senator Bob Casey Jr., he laments that many of the media voices that have platformed him in the past have gone silent following Trump's landslide election victory. He goes, I understand it. I feel it. Like others, I fear the threat of government retribution, political vengeance, and an angry white right-wing mob. He continues, but I know that giving into it will only strengthen Trump and undermine the future of our democracy. Trump wants us to be scared. He wants us to give up gradually and then suddenly. Oh, so Mark Elias basically just outlined the exact same thing that they've been doing over the course of the last 4 years against conservatives. Trying to get them to silence them, to go after them with government retribution, political vengeance, and an angry left-wing mob. Well, he just outlined their whole process in the entire thing. So, anyway. Elias also noted in a post on X that Kash Patel brands him as the enemy of the Republican Party because he always finds a way to win. Now, he also left out, though, that Patel, who was speaking with Stephen Bannon on the War Room, argued that the real victory would actually be convincing Elias to switch sides because of the fact that Elias has an expertise in lawfare. So, yeah, he just sort of forgot that part, I guess. So anyway. So Elias is running scared, which, I don't know. It's kind of funny with all these people who are talking about running scared and they're freaking out about all this stuff. If you didn't do things that you would think would get you into hot water, maybe you wouldn't be running scared. You think that? It's a possibility. All right, folks, that is it for me for this evening. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. It is free. Once you are logged in to that account, search up the American Perspective channel. Make sure you hit that green follow button to make sure you get notified every time I go live. Also, too, before you take off, make sure you hit those likes and thumbs up buttons across all my platforms, whether it's X, YouTube, Facebook, and, of course, the aforementioned Rumble. We will see you tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on American Perspective. Have a great rest of your evening, and good night, everybody.
The previous broadcast was produced and is owned by Active Eye Media LLC. All rights reserved.